My name's Evan Barker, and yes, the video actually is that low quality, because this video is of me competing at my first ever climbing competition. And little did I know that a decade later I'd still be doing the exact same thing, but why? To be honest, I don't really have an exact answer, but I do know that there's more to rock climbing than just climbing rocks. It's a fun way to exercise. A sense of personal growth and accomplishment. Or it's just a simple excuse to climb things. But I'm here to figure out what makes rock climbing different from other sports and hobbies. With that being said, let's start from the beginning. The story isn't about me, but it only makes sense to follow the actual journey that a rock climber took. And for me, my rock climbing journey started when I joined the Norris Middle School climbing team.
My name's Madison Jones. I'm a 6th grade science teacher at Norris Middle School. I have coached our rock climbing team while at Norris and also work with our Technology Student Association program. What initially got me into rock climbing was attending Morgan County's science camp. So every year as part of science camp, students go to the Obed Wild and Scenic River and experience kayaking and rock climbing. I've been an athlete all my life, so I love being physically active, but climbing allows something different than playing basketball used to. With basketball, it's very structured. You have a coach, you have a team, and you're kind of set up to just play as a student. Once you're no longer a student, you don't really play basketball anymore. And for climbing, I saw this as a sport that I could continue for the rest of my life, and a way to encourage you to continue to stay active. I asked our principal if we could start a climbing team. And he said yes, and we didn't have a climbing wall at first, and we just kind of figured it out. So the goal with the team was to encourage kids and to help them do a sport that was in general more encouraging. That yes, there's winners, there's losers, and there are great lessons in losing and winning, but that you were kind of competing against yourself more than you were against another team, and that the team was still working together to achieve a goal, but it just seemed like a more encouraging sport to be a part of. Climbing has a lot of similarities to other endurance outdoor sports. So you think like mountain biking or whitewater kayaking. You're going to a specific location that you wouldn't typically travel to. And you're finding yourself in these positions where you're like, how did I get here? That sometimes I'll get to the top of a route and just kind of look around me at whatever the scene might be of mountains or rivers or lakes, and you just think like, wow, not many people get this experience that I've just had. So I absolutely think there's more to climbing than just like going in to get a workout or just like climbing rocks. I think so much of the growth that comes from climbing is like mental strength, putting yourself in situations that you don't think you can maybe do or finish, that the idea that you can set a goal that maybe seems unattainable and making that thing that seems impossible, finding a way to make it possible. My favorite part about climbing is a combination of different things. So part of it is getting to be outside in places I wouldn't typically go. And so much of climbing, when you're doing sport climbing, which is when you're climbing using a rope, is that you kind of spend a lot of time in between climbs just being somewhere. So, if you were going on a hike, you kind of hike out and then you hike back and that's the end of your day. But for climbing, you're climbing to an area or hiking to an area, and maybe you're going to climb a couple routes there. So you just get there, you climb, and then you're just kind of like in nature for an extended period of time, sometimes just with silence or just kind of waiting, but it's a situation you wouldn't typically find yourself in. And then part of that is climbing with friends or getting to meet new people through climbing. You know, if you go out with friends to like a movie or something, there's not a lot of interaction that's happening. But I think part of how my husband and I got to know each other so well was our first date was climbing. So you have so much downtime where you're talking and really getting to know people in a way that you might not in other situations. One aspect of climbing that has been like so incredible is the opportunity to travel, that it's caused us to go to places we wouldn't typically tend to visit. So we visited Ten Sleep, Wyoming, this small little town in the middle of nowhere, like literally the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, that we've spent probably 4 or 5 summers in that area. So by doing that, we've experienced rodeos and cowboys and, you know, just general cultural experiences that we wouldn't typically have ever chosen to do. I think I would encourage people to climb just to have something to focus on and to put yourself into new situations that you wouldn't expect to find yourself in. I think that a lot of people could benefit from, you know, trying new things and going different places and, you know, stretching parts of your brain and parts of your body that you might not get with other activities.
As I competed over the years with the Norris Middle School climbing team, I got to experience everything from the climber's perspective. But what do the workers at the gyms themselves think about rock climbing?
My name is Nate Gray. I started here just about a year and a half ago. This is the climbing center, oldest climbing gym in Knoxville. I'm one of the boulder setters, so I set problems for people to enjoy. So what got me into rock climbing initially, I grew up a country kid. I've been climbing all my life, trees, rocks, whatever I can find. It actually got me into parkour, and parkour then led me here. So I wanted to find a more out in nature version of it, and climbing is the closest thing I could find.
My name is Mark Large. I work at the River Sports Climbing Center. I'm head setter, climbing instructor, and sort of all around whatever needs to be done in the gym type of guy. When I was 18, I worked on a ropes course at a Boy Scout camp, and they had a climbing wall there. And so I learned how to do all the rigging from working on a ropes course. I was always more outdoorsy, that's why I was in Scouts. And then climbing just sort of fell into my lap, and I felt natural with it. And it's very intuitive, and you know, I feel like I was always climbing trees when I was younger, so just like most kids. And getting outside and climbing on rock felt good.
So what made me continue climbing was just probably the love for the challenge. I like that it physically challenges you and also mentally challenges you. So I like the aspect of working out the problems. It's a great way to get exercise in. It's a great way to get out and explore new things with your friends. It's a great way to connect. The climbing community is awesome. I would also say that if you're just looking for something different, like if you're an active person in general, if you're looking for something different to do, this is pretty unique in its class. There's not many other sports that replicate it to its degree. So I'd say if you're looking for something fun and challenging, then anybody should start.
You know, I like the meditational movement I get from it when I'm climbing the easy stuff. But I can't pick one certain thing. I think I love every aspect of it, from like the problem solving to pushing myself until I fall on something that's past my limit, to being out in out in nature and being on the rock. Definitely that's a big part of why I love to climb, because it, you know, when you're climbing, you it sort of sounds hippie-ish, but you sort of become one with nature.
It trains you to be patient. It kind of forces you to be humble. There's times where things will look incredibly easy and they're just absolutely not. So I would say definitely the mental aspect, apart from just being physical. It's just as mental as it is physical.
Definitely, if you're fear of heights, climbing can help you learn how to control that. If you go into the mental aspect, I love the mental part because I always want to learn how to control myself when I get into a scary situation.
It's incredibly hard to mimic outside. Inside, you're going to get a lot more indefinite, more creative freedom to set whatever you'd like. You can set different styles. You can climb all sorts of things. There's different styles of indoor climbing versus outdoor climbing. Indoor climbing, when you get into the comp styles, everything like that, then it becomes a lot more playful and more artistic rather than just kind of raw climbing like you would do outside.
Outdoor climbing, there's an energy because of nature. Touching the rock, you feel that energy when you're out. At least I do, especially when the wind's blowing in your hair and you hear the river down below and you get that exposure and the sun's on your back. You know, that energy you feel when you're climbing, with a little bit of fear sometimes if you're got that adrenaline going. But in the gym tends to be more energy created by people. Because like I come into the gym and it's empty and there's no sound, there's nothing. And the people that come into the gym create that energy. Like, you know, that's why I always want people to have a good attitude in here and be courteous and have fun. And you know, everybody feeds off that.
It's a lot less nerve-wracking inside than it is outside, simply because you have that level of safety and also that level of community that people are just around. I believe that the indoor gyms are a lot more inviting rather than just starting outside. It's a great way to find a ton of different levels in a very small place. So the things we have here as events is we have birthday parties, we have private lessons, we have basic private parties for just individuals. We have our high school climbing league, around 6 schools climb here. We also are partnered with Catalyst Sports. Catalyst Sports is a nonprofit community, and it's a way that people with disabilities can have the opportunity to climb. So we have a lot of different opportunities present here for people to start out. And I would say that, again, it's beginner friendly. Anybody who wants to show up, we give rundowns, we give introductions on any type of climbing that you want to do. And we also provide certifications here. So it's really for any skill group, they would be able to have indefinite time here.
To be honest, I never really got much into outdoor climbing, but I do know enough to know that it does get a really bad rap when it comes to safety. So who better to talk to than one of the rangers at the Obed National Park?
I'm Matt Hudson. I'm currently the management analyst at the Obed Wild and Scenic River. Before that, for over 21 years, I was a park ranger and then the chief ranger here. And then today I'm helping continue with our climbing programs and other efforts at the Obed. I think what got me into rock climbing was 22 years ago. I came to this beautiful park for my first job with the National Park Service, and I just saw all these people rock climbing, and they made it look so easy, and I thought, wow, that looks like fun. So my wife and I started climbing. It's a wonder we didn't die. She didn't know how to belay, I didn't know how to climb. We survived, thankfully. But in the process of that, I just learned that it's a really fun activity, a great way to experience the outdoors, and to have excitement, while you're in a beautiful outdoor environment. One of the reasons I continued with climbing was because it was part of my job, and that's an amazing part of working as a park ranger, is you just get to do this kind of stuff on the job. But it's just exciting, and the physical challenge, it's a way to feel excitement and adrenaline and still actually be relatively safe while you're doing it if you do it correctly. I think my favorite part about rock climbing is the way that the skill set unlocks this whole new world. I love the excitement in a beautiful natural environment, but I also love the adventure that having those skills can unlock. rock climbing events that we do here at the park, we do Climb with a Ranger. We do our 6th grade program that, where we take every 6th grader in the county rock climbing and paddling. We've just got a new program that we're excited about in the last year or two, funded through a grant from the National Park Foundation, where we got funds to launch our adaptive climbing rock climbing program. And so initially with our adaptive climbing program, we're focusing on people with limb differences who might have a prosthetic. There's some really amazing rock climbers out there in the world who climb with prosthetic limbs, but there are other people with prosthetic limbs who may not know that rock climbing is available to them, or may feel that there's some barrier there that we can help eliminate. One of the reasons I think newcomers should consider rock climbing is that you don't really know what you're good at or what you'll enjoy until you try it. And it's not always, you know, a lot of times we think of rock climbers as these like super wiry people that weigh like 80 pounds or whatever, but lots of different people are good at rock climbing that might not have expected it until they tried it. We do this program where we take every 6th grader in our county rock climbing and kayaking. And there's a few things we love about that. We love that it exposes our local community. We've been doing it for 13 years now. We love that it exposes our local community to their national park here and helps create a sense of buy-in. But also there's a few of those children who are meant to be rock climbers, who rock climbing is potentially their thing in life. And we've found a few of those. You know, some of them are way better than me now that came through that program. So the fact that a child might go through their life and not be exposed to that sport, that there is going to be their passion and the thing that, you know, helps give their life meaning, is kind of a sad thought. And so if we can help them connect with that activity, then that's wonderful. What I love about Climb with the Ranger is it gives everybody the chance to experience rock climbing. If they love it, they can come back repeatedly. It's just a fun program for us. It requires me to rock climb, as I'm about to do in a minute, just to set these things up. So that's a win-win, but I think it's, again, just that sense of seeing people, whether it's a child or an adult, push their boundaries, and sometimes you see this incredible sense of accomplishment. I think, you know, in some environments, people can make rock climbing primarily about exercise. You know, particularly in the gym, right? I think a lot of times, and that's fine. The gym is a great training venue, and the gym is also a great gateway. A lot of the climbers that we're about to have Climb with a Ranger here, so a lot of the participants that come to Climb with a Ranger may be gym climbers who've never climbed much in the outdoors. So I think in the gym, it can be a lot about the physical aspects. I think out here in the sport climbing world, you can kind of use it as a way to grow, right? As a way to grow yourself and kind of learn how you deal with adversity and how you challenge yourself, you know, how you reach outside of what's comfortable into an area which is, you know, of discomfort, which is often where we learn the most and grow the most. Certainly the climate is much more controlled in an indoor environment. Here, sometimes we show up for Climb with a Ranger and the rock is completely wet. The environment changes, it can be cold, it can be hot. There can be some environmental hazards, right? Snakes, bees, rockfall. We're very fortunate here at the Obed that this rock is very hard. It's sandstone, but it's super hard. You know, the routes that we're on are heavily climbed. Outdoor climbing and climbing in general is dangerous, right? You could not begin to say that it's not. Gravity is turned on, and really in my mind, first and foremost, if people make mistakes, accidents can and do happen. So we just have to be really careful that we tie the knots correctly, that we check everything and make sure everything's good. And so we give a really high level of focus to that, right? To not only making sure that we're being safe in general, but that just the entire operation is safe. There is, you know, there's always the risk of a sports injury or something. That's true. That's as true for taking someone hiking, you know, for park rangers leading a group of people hiking as it is rock climbing. But you trust the gear, right? As a climber, you know that everything you're attached to would hold 3,000 pounds and that you weigh nowhere near 3,000 pounds. And so therefore, as long as we do everything right, so it's going to be safe. You know, somebody may strain their finger. They're much more likely to hurt themselves walking around down here on the ground, much more likely to hurt themselves driving here than they are once they get here and actually start rock climbing.
So now you've heard many stories from the vast world of rock climbing. How climbing brings people together and allows you to get out there and explore more of the world. The benefits of indoor climbing and what it's like to be part of the climbing community. And the scenic beauty of outdoor climbing and surprising accessibility of the sport. But there's still one more question to be answered. What truly makes rock climbing different?
I think one of the things that makes climbing, for me, stand out from the other sports that I've played is the physical fear. And I think I feel this fear more than maybe other people I know. But sometimes I'll be climbing, and sport climbing, when you're climbing, lead climbing, you climb over a bolt. So you have to take a fall, or at least know that a fall is in the realm of possibilities before you reach your next bolt. And sometimes I just really get in my head. So I'll climb above a bolt and I'll know, like, physically I am capable of doing this next move, but my brain just gets in the way where I think, oh my God, like, I might fall. And I know I'm not going to fall to my death. I'm going to fall, and it's on a dynamic rope, and I'm going to be very safe. But that fear just feels so real sometimes. So you have this physical aspect, and then also this very mental aspect. And other sports, obviously you're trying hard. Mountain biking is very scary, arguably a lot more scary than climbing can be. But the fear for me of climbing above a bolt is different than the mental pushing yourself physically that other sports bring.
A lot of sports is very deceiving. You don't really see the danger right away. With climbing, it's sort of in your face. You're looking at it, it's like, that's tall, and if I fall, I could get hurt. It's very honest in that way. But I think what makes it a bigger difference between the other sports is that it's not really a team sport. It's an individual thing. It's a personal thing. So I can't climb for you. You have to climb for yourself. And you have to push yourself. And so you have to make decisions for yourself. And I can sit there and try to coach you, but still at the same time, it's up to you as a person to want to climb and make it up that wall. And a lot of sports are more team-oriented, We are very supportive of each other. I have to have a belayer, and we all cheer each other on, and so we try to be very positive. We want to see each other succeed.
The level of difficulty in rock climbing can build all the way up to a blank wall, right? So there's always this open-ended scale of difficulty that you're somewhere on. I'm somewhere down near the middle at best, but you always have this room to work up. And I think the other thing is just the way that I think there aren't many other things that do this. It unlocks a whole section of the earth for exploration. Some of the most spectacular places on earth, the tops of these mountains and, just canyons, whatever. The skill sets that come with rock climbing unlock parts of the earth that you otherwise would not get to experience if you did not have those skill sets. I think another thing that makes rock climbing kind of unique in the outdoor recreation world is just the level of connection you have to another human being. I can't think of another activity where your life is so much in someone else's hands, right? I mean, if you're paddling, if you're whitewater kayaking and you turn over, you're hoping those people can rescue you. But here, your belayer, who's on the ground or maybe up above you, whatever, keeping you safe on the other end of the rope, literally has your life in their hands. And so just that level of trust and connection that it can establish between people is really special.